Hi folks, Smudge here again. Well, today, February the 19th, 2018, we are hosting a channel from British Columbia. With a wide variety of topics. This one talks a little bit about some beekeeping.
Hey there, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch, and today it's all about the bees and hopefully not about the stings.
How about a comparison of United States homesteading versus Canadian homesteading?
Hey everyone, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch, and today Jake and Becky from White House on the Hill and I are going to debunk some typical American-Canadian stereotypes.
Oh yeah, and they make some kombucha too.
Hey there, this is Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch Homestead, and this is
Aurora, and we're making kombucha today.
Yes, we are making kombucha today.
And how about some home remodeling in a real log home?
Okay, so we are the evening before the guy who's going to be putting in our window into this wall is coming, and we need to move everything that you can see here and over here all out of the living room. I just wanted to show you guys kind of a I have to stop saying you guys. I am going to show you what we are doing, basically start to finish, the whole entire project. So let's get going.
And we have some livestock guardian dogs on hand as well.
Hi everybody, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch and Cypress. Mwah! This video is about him again.
Wildfire's forced evacuation of their home for a month and a half, but they're back.
Hey guys, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch here at last. After I don't even know how long it has been since I posted a video, but I think like 4 weeks or something. So yeah, I'm not dead. The farm's still here, all is good. And we are back at home again. So let's cue that catchy little whistling music and then I will give you guys an update.
And here we talk about some goals for 2018. So, stream starts at 8:57, show starts at 9.
Hi everyone, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch and Cypress as usual. I think I should change my channel name to the Cypress Show because he's pretty much in every video that I do if I'm outside. Today I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that we have coming up in 2018 and some of our projects and our plans. And instead of just talking to you about it, I thought I would take you around the farm and show you some of the things that we have going on, coming up, and then reflect back a little bit on 2017.
We're live again Monday evening, February 19th, and we're going across the border. I do realize that some of you thought Daryl and I were literally going to Canada to do the interview. That would be awesome, but we don't have any passports. My passport expired 40-some years ago. I don't even know if I have it anymore, but it's going to be an interesting hour. She has children and animals and 2 lovely white furry 4-legged babies that you already know I love. So if everybody has their drink and their popcorn or wine or whatever you want to drink tonight, go ahead and bring her out, Daryl.
All righty. You should be live.
Hi.
Yep, say hi to everybody.
Hi. Thank you guys for coming.
I think we have
I'm super
somebody,
nervous.
I was going to say, we have somebody that's got just a little bit of nerves here right now.
Yeah, just a little.
So, everybody welcome her. Don't be too rough on her.
Be gentle.
Make sure that all your questions are in all caps.
Yes.
So not only can we read them, that way she can read them if she's watching the screen, and our moderators can also see them and make sure that we know that they're there. So ask away.
And I know you already told us, but I see that we have some people from southern United States on. So please share what weather you're living with right now.
So right now it is negative 25 degrees Celsius. And we have 3 feet of snow, and it was snowing again yesterday. It's supposed to snow again, and we've been down to negative 32-ish in the last couple of nights. So it's cold.
I put goosebumps on my arms. Wow.
Yeah, me too. It's really cold.
So I'm a little curious. Do you have like special engine block heaters and stuff like that on your automobiles?
Yeah, on everything. And when that fails, we have a tiger torch for our tractors. We have diesel tractors, and we keep them in the shop with some heat going. But when that fails, the tiger torch comes out, and that's what warms everything up.
Okay, and explain to people what a tiger torch is.
So it's basically a torch, like either can be propane. Ours is propane torch, and we use a big metal tube basically and run it up to the block of the engine, and then run the tiger torch there, and then that heats it up.
Okay, all right. So, do you have to use that often?
We've had to use it 3 times this year so far, and then we also use it sometimes when our water hydrants freeze, which happens periodically. We use it for the same thing, to thaw them out.
Okay, and you said you have like 3 foot of snow. So
Yep.
Does your husband get the dozer out and plow the driveway, or?
Actually, yes, we kind of do it in tandem. He and I both he has a big tractor, a big 4x4 tractor, and I have a little tractor. So we usually run them at the same time and go down the driveway. Our driveway is a couple of kilometers long, so we kind of work together. But we did recently get an old grader, and that's something Dan's going to be working on in the next couple of weeks to get that going, because what's happening, anyone who's plowed a driveway, you know that after time it kind of gets really narrow. And right now it's like a bobsled chute. So we need to widen it out. I drive a 15-passenger van, and it's really hard to get out right now. So we have to widen it out.
They want to know, where in Canada are you?
We're in BC. We're in the interior of British Columbia.
How much property do you have there?
We have 160 acres on our homestead.
160 acres. I know in one of your videos you were talking healthy acres, or you were using a different term than acres.
Oh, hectares.
Hectares.
That's probably when I was talking about forest fires, because when we had the forest fires come through BC this summer, everybody refers to the amount of land burned by hectares instead of acres. And I think it's 2.2 acres for every hectare. Somebody could correct me if I have that wrong, but something like that.
Yeah, that's something just short of 2.5 times.
Well,
Yeah.
Life Goes North is asking, how do you water all your farm animals during the winter in Canada? Does your water freeze?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Mindy. Yes, it does. We have water heaters when it gets this cold. When it's minus 10-ish or so, we'll break ice. But when it gets colder, everything will freeze rock solid over the night. So we use plug-in heaters in our tanks, and we have hoses that we bring into the house or the shop to keep warm, because they just freeze up overnight, to water all of the bigger stock tanks.
And I know that you've said in some of your videos you're somewhat of a prepper. So as far what you just said, you're obviously on the grid, so you have electricity flowing to take care of these heaters and so forth. Do you have any other types of power? I mean, do you have a backup generator in case that fails, or do you have solar system?
Yeah, so we've lived off-grid before. We actually lived off-grid for several years. And when we were looking for a property, on-grid was important, because I have 11 kids, and the amount of laundry that I have to do is it's just craziness, and I could not pull it off the grid. So we do have backup generators, and we have some water that runs through our property, and we're looking at hydro. So we want to always stay on the grid, but we'd like to do a grid tie system where we're producing our own power and then can feed it back into the grid, is kind of the long-term plan.
Yeah, very neat. And how long have you been on this property that you're at right now?
It'll be 3 years in June.
3 years. Wow. What amazed me was in the one video, and I can't remember what they called them, but all these bumps that you have out in your that you want to have pasture. What? Explain that to people.
Okay, so I'm going to say this wrong, and Dan's going to get me for it later. I think they're lummocks. I always say hummocks, but I think they're lummocks. So hopefully somebody knows. But what they are is they're basically in really swampy ground. They are these hard lumps of roots that form. I don't really know what the science is behind why that happens, but they're impossible to run a tiller through or anything. So what we're actually doing, Dan's been talking to a guy from Alberta, is they have these giant mulchers and they can run through them even in the wintertime, and they'll rip up like stumps and roots and these big lummocks and basically turn it into workable earth. And then we can go around with our equipment and put in the ditches that we need. But it's almost 10 acres of land that we have that's not really usable. So it's high on the priority list to convert that into land that we can actually use for hay.
Well, how much of your property do you have for farming?
Right now we have about 20 acres in hay. And then a lot of our land is forested, and we actually have spent a lot of the last 3 months since we got back from the evacuation logging, making more area that we can convert into pasture, because a lot of our land isn't really usable for farming. And then also logging basically a giant fire guard around the perimeter of our property. So right now it's about 20 acres or so, maybe 25 acres. That's kind of our home farmland.
Well, if you want to share with the people in the room here the adventures you had as far as being evacuated from your house.
Wow. We're still actually trying to kind of process the whole thing, but basically on July 9th, we'd had quite an extended drought in our area, and there was a dry lightning storm. And it sparked about 15 massive forest fires basically in and around our area. And it caught, I think it's the largest forest fire ever on record for Canada. But it burned up to about 1 kilometer from our house, and we were evacuated on that date, and we were evacuated for 2 months, and we're able to go back at the end of August. So, yeah. That was a bit crazy.
So when they evacuated you, where did you go? Did it just say, leave your home? We don't care where you go?
Well, yeah. They basically showed up and said that that the exit routes to our property were going to be blocked by the fire they predicted within 24 hours. This was at 2 a.m. We had already had a fairly good indication that was coming, so we had done a lot of preparation. But we left, and within about 24 hours of leaving, we realized that it was still safe, just due to where we knew the area, we knew where the fires were burning, for my husband, Dan, to go back. And he actually, with my eldest son, stayed on our property and took care of everything and prepared it as best they could for fire. And myself and the kids camped with our travel trailer in a campground that was a few hours away, and we spent some time with family and just kind of moved around for those couple months.
I have to ask, what is the square footage of your home? Roughly.
3,200 roughly.
3,200. I was going to say, with all these kids.
Yeah.
You need some extra area. Now you're talking about living in a camping trailer, talking about tiny home living.
Oh, tell me about it. It was definitely an education, I'll tell you that. We had a couple of tents, because our travel trailer we bought before we had as many kids as we have. So it's not like a big massive one or anything. But we had tents set up, and we took up, I think, 3 camp spaces in the campground.
I don't even think a camper for all those. I don't think they make them that big.
I don't think so either. No.
Grandpa's place is asking, your land, is it your land or Crown land?
It's ours.
Okay. What I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I'm ignorant. What is Crown land? Educate some of us.
Crown land is land that is owned by the government. by the Crown.
And then
in Canada.
they lease it to people? Is that what they do? Or?
You can. There's we're actually considering doing that with some area that surrounds our place, but it's a bit complicated to get land out of sort of Crown ownership, but it's possible.
Interesting.
So tell us about your family and how you ended up with so many. I mean, I'm sure you
Half a million
didn't.
kids.
I'm sure you didn't start out thinking, let's have 15.
No. Okay. I can kind of tell you our adoption story, our journey. It's not something I've actually shared on my channel, so it might be interesting. I had my first child when I was 19. So I was a young mom, and my husband and I, we actually have our 26th anniversary on Wednesday. Actually, we're childhood sweethearts.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we had Ben, and then we both went to school and got our education and all of that, and then we had another child when I was 27, and I had some fertility issues, so we wanted to have more kids. We'd always wanted to have a big family, not necessarily a giant family, but a big family. And so we decided at that point to start pursuing adoption. And we contacted our local adoption agency, and they actually had a little girl. She was 5 who needed family. And so the ball started rolling there. We found out she had a sibling who was in foster care. So we adopted him. And then we received a call saying we have an 8-year-old boy that needs a family. And so we adopted him. And then it just kind of kept going that way where we would receive a call. And then I think once you start on this journey of particularly like older child adoption, the need is great. And there are so many kids out there. This is near and dear to my heart, so I'll get a little passionate for you. But there's so many kids out there that need homes, and your capacity increases the more that you do anything. So you couldn't have thrown me into having 11 children when I was 25 and then only parented one child, because I wouldn't have had the skills. But as we adopted more and more children, my capacity grew, and so that's kind of how we ended up with this many kids. And a lot of them ended up having siblings elsewhere that we found out about, and that kind of thing. So that was sort of how it all happened.
Speed dial. They have you on speed dial.
Yeah, I guess so, right? No, we're done now. 11's good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that obviously also means, like you said earlier, a lot of laundry. I bet you do laundry every day.
Oh, yeah. Like 3 loads a day on average.
3 loads a day. And then you are also not growing all of your own food and so forth. So I know you're making trips to the grocery store. Tell us about those.
Yep.
Do you take tandem carts and go through, or?
Yeah, I do it. I'm actually just still kind of fine tuning the system. But what I do, so we produce 100% of our own meat. We have a dairy cow, so that milk is mostly for cooking yogurt and for cereal and stuff in the morning. So I'm not making cheese and butter and that kind of thing, but we do have milk, all of our own eggs, and then in the summertime, all of our own produce. So I also try to do a lot of food storage, so preparation throughout the summer and putting all of that up in my pantry and my cold storage or my root cellar. So I try to shop as little as possible, and I also shop bulk, and I order from like an organic food co-op every 6 months, and that takes care of like rice and flour and oil and all of that kind of stuff. So I actually mostly just shop for produce at the grocery store, and I try to do it every couple of weeks. So that's kind of how that works.
So the grocery store that you go to, is it semi-local, or do you have to really travel to get there?
To do our, like Costco, we don't have a Costco, so we have to travel 3 hours to go to the nearest Costco, and we try to do that every couple of months or so. But no, our ranch is about an hour from the nearest town, and we have it's called Save on Foods and Safeway, and there's a wholesale Club, it's called, but it's like a sort of like a Costco, just not nearly as much selection. And I shop all of those places.
But that's an hour drive just to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually what happens, my daughter, Kate, she's 15. Her and I get up really early in the morning, and it's kind of our special time together. And we go, just her and I go, and we'll be at the grocery store by 8 a.m. and be back home by 11:30. Usually is how we do that.
Well, and of course, this lends to other things too. You homeschool all of these children.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll bet that's been a challenge.
Yeah, it has, but I have some of my kids have special needs, and I just didn't find that we've done some public school, and I just didn't feel like their needs could be met. Some of my kids have significant special needs, and I just didn't see that their needs could be met that way. And also, living as far as we are from town, our bus it's an hour. I think it's an hour and a half on the bus, maybe even a bit longer for them morning and night. So that's just too long of a day for a lot of my little ones. So it's a lot of work, but I've been homeschooling now off and on for about 15 years. So we kind of have it figured out now. We've got two of our oldest have graduated from our homeschool. So it's something we've done for a while.
Okay, I think Sherry's got a couple of questions she's pulled out of the chat here.
We have one, our tiny cabin project. I want to know if you hunt, and if so, do the kids also hunt, and what age did you start them?
Oh, I wish I hunted. I don't hunt. It's actually something my husband just got. It's called, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's a PAL. It's like a hunting license. Neither of us grew up hunting. So we just did that and just started buying our guns and learning how to handle them and use them, because it's something that we really, really want to be doing. We do all of our own meat processing and stuff on our own property, so we're familiar with that part of it. But no, hunting is something I would do, and my kids are involved in the whole process of everything we do. So I imagine once we know what we're doing, then any of them would come along with us.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And then we have another one. Do you children like living the homestead lifestyle?
Not all of them. Nope. All of my kids, sort of 12 and under, love it. And they all want to be homesteaders when they grow up. Anybody who's 13 and older doesn't love it. They all would prefer to be closer to town. So Sam, my 17-year-old, just got it. The way licensing works is you can get a learner's license at 16 in BC, but you can't get your full license until you're 17, which is kind of a drag for rural living like we have. But he's driving now. And so that frees everybody up a lot to be able to get into town more often. But my teenagers all lament that we don't live, in Vancouver, or that we don't live in the city. But funnily enough, my oldest son, who's 21, he is now, he's a mechanic apprentice, a heavy duty mechanic apprentice in town, and lives on his own. But he's talked about now buying land. And he was my most adamant, as soon as I can, I'm moving to the city. And now he wants land.
Isn't that funny how that happens? Yeah.
It totally does. Yeah.
Beyond Mountains Homestead is asking, what is your go-to dinner recipe?
Pardon me?
What is your go-to dinner recipe?
That would be any soup or stew. I'm a super stew queen. Those are my go-to, especially in the winter time. So any meat or veggies I have on hand go into the pot, and then I make baking powder biscuits as a side or a salad or whatever. That's kind of my go-to.
Well, if I remember on the one video, you don't use one crock pot, you use two?
Yep. Two crock pots.
Are you crazy? I use one crock pot for us. There's no way they would use one for them.
No, at least two giant crock pots.
Oh my.
Yep.
That is unreal. And tell us about that big, white, beautiful ball of fluff that always follows you around outside.
Cypress, yes. Cypress is our livestock guardian dog, and we now have two livestock guardian dogs. We just got a pup recently. And when we first moved onto our property had not been lived on for 2 years. So all of the wildlife had kind of encroached on it, and we had cougars. Kate and I were down milking one morning, and there was a cougar watching us from up on the hill, and we had lynx come in and wipe out our turkeys, and it was obviously dogs were sort of an essential. So we did a bunch of research and found that Great Pyrenees are sort of the right breed for what we were looking for. And also because in our climate being as cold as it is, they're really a cold weather loving dog.
Yeah.
So that's how Cypress came to be. And Cypress is such a character because if I'm outside, and anybody who watches my videos knows Cypress is pretty much going to be in every one because he tracks me down. He just knows if I'm out there with a camera and comes and photo bombs.
I was on one of my Facebook groups is for Great Pyrenees, obviously. And somebody said, I'm thinking about cutting my dog's hair. And it's like, why? Well, they're going to be hot in the summer and they're going to sweat. The dogs have 2 coats for a reason. These dogs go way back when they were in the mountains, high up in, with the snow. They're like, the St. Bernards. They're meant to have those 2 coats. And and then they said, well, I don't know what kind of dog to get for, my farm and that. Somebody said a collie, somebody said a German Shepherd. I go, Great Pyrenees, hands down.
The best
Pyrenees.
dog. They are the best.
I mean, they'll
I love
take
them.
care of
I don't think I could ever go back now.
Yeah, they'll watch the animals, but they also, your children and you and your husband is also part of their herd.
Exactly.
They take care of it all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they totally do. They're amazing. They're such a great temperament, and they are fierce protectors, and that's what we needed. And since we got them, we have not lost a single thing. Not a chicken, not a goat, not a pig, nothing. Mm-hmm. So we haven't had any predator issues since we got them.
So tell us a little bit about your gardening, how large it is, how much you do. I know you're going to make some changes this year. I think that's in your plans. Yeah. What you grow. And I see that we have old Alabama gardeners in the room here. And he's down in Alabama, and he's a pretty wise fellow. But you have a different growing season up there, I'm sure. So if you can kind of just elaborate a little bit on how long your growing season is and what your favorite plants are, and go ahead.
Sure. I love gardening. So I don't mind talking about that. Our growing season, so we're a zone kind of 3, 4, depending. And we have, usually I plant out in the garden by May 20th. And then everything needs to be in safely by mid-August. Because we can get frost in August. And so it's a fairly short growing season, but we usually get really hot summers. So there's a lot that you can do in that period of time. My favorite things to grow, anything that's a squash. I love squash. I go crazy for it. And I love anything that's on a vine, like pickling cucumbers and those kinds of things. So I plant a lot of those because I make all my own pickles and store squash and all that stuff. And what I'm trying to do this year, because we experienced so much drought last year, is normally I do like just kind of your typical standard bare earth gardening. And I'm wanting to get more into permaculture. And I actually wanted to show you because just before I came here, I went and got the mail. Because where I am right now, I'm actually at my mother-in-law's house because we don't have good enough service out at the ranch. And I went and got the mail, and I had ordered some books that I am pretty excited about. So this is one of the books that I ordered, Sepp Holzer's Permaculture. This came recommended to me by one of my subscribers, actually, this one. And then Farming in the Woods, because we have a lot of forested area on our property, and I wanted to try doing some, especially berries and things like that in the forested area. And then this one I know most people probably know, but Ben Felk's The Resilient Farm and Homestead. So I just picked these up. I'm really excited about them. I love books and gardening, so it's a good match. But I'm looking I'm basically open to any kind of idea or suggestion. Back to Eden gardening is something that kind of appeals to me too. So it's going to be an experimental year for me in the garden.
Very good. And when you grow all this stuff, obviously you are canning it as well. And you had
Oh, yeah.
you had some outstanding numbers that I heard in some of these videos. So, and again, just share with the folks in here. Give us a typical annual. How many?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I put up usually 600 pounds of tomatoes canning usually, and I don't grow everything that I put up, because there's some farms that I have that I rely on for things like tomatoes that are a little bit further south. Then I can get them for, what's a good price up here is about 60 cents a pound. So I buy a ton of tomatoes and I make salsas, and I'm just starting to make ketchups actually. But I just usually can most of them just straight and make whatever I want later on. I usually, all together in my pantry by the end of the season, I can have upwards of 600 jars or so put up. And then my root cellar is usually jam packed with, I do like beets. I'm a huge fan of beets. So I do beets, potatoes, rutabagas, turnips, and that's about it. Usually my root cellar is kind of, and carrots, of course, packed full in there.
Do you make salad dressings?
No, there's so many things I want to make, and that's one of them. But no, I should though.
So your pantry is in the home, and then the root cellar is actually a dugout area outside. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
And that's something else that you, if I remember right, you want to do some improvement in your root cellar.
Yeah, our root cellar. So our property, the first owners, the original homesteaders was about 100 years ago or so, and this root cellar was built at that time. And so it works really, really well. And the last owners in I think the 80s put in a concrete roof, so with some beams, so it's solid, but it needs to be all dug out, and there's no storage. What they did is they just used big or lick tubs, like protein lick tubs, and threw all their carrots and stuff in there, and then just stacked it in there on pallets. And I would like to do some different kinds of ideas in there to make it just more functional.
Any more questions?
No.
Gosh, the chat's pretty quiet here.
Well, a little bit ago they were talking about how big their parents' families was. Some of them came from 10 kids. Let me find somebody's father. They had 24 in their came from a family of 24. It's like, oy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, hey, I have a question for your people in the chat there, because this is something else I got in the mail that I thought was super cool. One of my subscribers suggested, because I make kombucha, that there was something called, this is what it is, but it's Jun kombucha, Jun, and it's made with green tea and honey instead of black tea and sugar. And we have bees on our property, so I like the idea of using the honey. So I actually ordered SCOBY. Weirdly, you can order SCOBYs on Amazon. Who knew? But I just got this in the mail, so I'm going to try it. But has anybody tried making Jun kombucha before?
I haven't tried. I want to try and make it. I've never tried it at all, so I would like to. I'm sure there's a lot of them out here that already do that.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it before. Regular kombucha was the only thing I'd heard of, but making it with green tea, I like that idea. And it's apparently quite a mild kombucha.
That sounds like a question for Stacy.
Oh yeah,
Off grid with Doug and Stacy. I know that they've been in a collab with you, and I know she's a big kombucha fan.
I should ask her. That's a good idea.
Browncoat Homestead wants to know if you use a greenhouse.
Yeah, we just built our first greenhouse on this property. It's just a small one. I can't remember the size, but it's like 8 by 15 or something like that. And so the biggest reason we built it is because I start all of my own seeds and everything. And I was running out of space in my house, so we're just going to put a small pellet stove. We have an old one that we're going to put in there to do all my seed starts. But yeah, I do have a little greenhouse, and I want to try the hoop houses this year over some of the plants like beans that are more sensitive to the colder temperatures.
Just to extend your growing season.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Old Alabama's gardener is asking, was it June Scooby or just the regulars?
No, it's specific. This is what I asked her. I said, well, can I do it with a regular SCOBY? And she said, no, that you have to actually have specifically one that was started with those cultures. This is a place I got it from Karma Cultures, but yeah, it's specific for this kind of kombucha. So I'll try it and we'll see how it goes.
So some Roberta's Artistic Adventures, it says it's tea, not kombucha.
Yeah, well, it's fermented, like a fermented tea.
Fermented tea, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, 9:34. Should we?
Yeah, I
do
was
our
going to
first?
say, we're
Let's get
30
our
minutes
first-
in. Let's
yeah.
kind of take just a little break here, and we'll get a trivia question up
Let
for
her
everybody.
Catch her breath.
So, here we go. Okay, folks, and I know we have some new people in here tonight, so let me just explain what we do here every week. We have a trivia game where we give you in the chat a question about our guest. And if you are the first person to answer that question correctly in the chat window as we receive it here, you are the winner, and we will send you a United States $2 bill. And we have sent them to Canada. We have sent them to England.
Yeah, the one to England almost cost as much as the $2 bill. But they want it fair and correct. Swear.
So just very quickly, the rules that we have are very simple. You can only win once every 4 weeks, and you must, of course, be the first person to answer the question in the chat window as is received and recorded on the stream here. And as you folks can all see the stream rolling up the chat here. And then, of course, you have to send us an email so we know where to send your $2 bill. So let me bring up the first question if everybody's ready, or does anybody have any questions? Because like I said, I know we have some new people in here tonight.
Yep, Mapleberry Farm said, yep, we sent one to Canada.
Yeah, they got one.
They sure did. Okay.
All right, here we go. First question. How many kids do we have living at home? Sandy, that is not correct. Isn't hers Homestead is not correct. There we go. You can't eat the grass. It's the first one.
Woohoo!
You can't eat the grass.
Yeah, they have 11 children, but only 10 are living at home.
Very good.
Okay, you can't eat the grass. If you would send us an email to twofamilyhomestead@gmail.com, give us your mailing address. If your email does not reflect your name here, let us know who you are, and we'll get you a $2 bill out in the mail. And thank you so much. Now, you had a long enough break?
I do see one question here. It says, this is from Root House Farm, and it says, what is your favorite animal to raise and why?
Okay, go right ahead. I'm going to...
So I can answer that one?
Yeah,
Sure.
feel free.
Favorite animal to raise? I think cows. I love pigs. Anyone who watches my channel, you know that I have lots of pigs and I love pigs. But because there's a slight danger factor involved, I can't put them right at the very top. But cows are gentle. They are super, super hardy and easy to take care of and easy to raise, simple to feed. But they give so much back. So we have dairy cows, and so we're milking them. And then any of the boys that come out, we eat those. And so yeah, they're a wonderful, they're a wonderful animal, and they need a little bit more space. But we've actually had a dairy cow on less than 2 acres before, and it was just a little bit more expensive as far as being able to feed them. But yeah, they're an awesome animal. I love them.
Okay. And folks, we have our phone line is open. If you'd like to call in, ask her a question directly, chat back and forth for a
Yes,
little bit.
that's something some of the new ones do not know about.
Right. So if you'd like to call in, the number is on the screen there. And I can only take one call at a time. That's the only drawback. So if we get somebody in and then somebody else is trying to call, then
Don't have that party line going yet.
yeah, we don't have the party line. But so we'll just kind of continue on here, and I guess I'm a little surprised. I figured there'd be a couple people jump right in, but they haven't done it yet.
No, not yet.
That's okay. Hey, I can show, I got one other parcel in the mail when I went,
Sure.
and I thought this might be an interesting thing for anybody that's beekeepers out there.
Go for it.
So I can show this.
Absolutely.
And one of the things, I mentioned this in the last video I did, that I've been trying to do is when I need something farm related, I try to look within the homesteading community to see if there's anybody out there that's running a small business that I can help support.
Hello, this is Daryl.
So this guy,
Who's calling, please?
okay, this guy is Barnyard Bees, and he has a channel down in, I think it's Tennessee. And I was looking for a winter feeder for my beehives. So he did a video on bees, and I just thought they were the coolest thing. So I don't know if you can see this, but there's a hole here, and it's ridged on the inside and ridged on this part of it. And what you do is you put sugar in the feeder, and then you put it over like on your top box. Usually you'll have a board, and you just have a hole cut in it, and you stick this over top of it. And then you put this lid on. This is good for winter feeding in cold climates like we have. And then the bees can come up underneath here and eat the sugar that you have in there, and then head back down and stay warm. So you put this right over top of the cluster, which is the cluster that forms where all the bees bunch together in the wintertime to keep warm. And then this feeds them. And I just thought that was the coolest, cleanest way to feed bees in the winter, because normally I'll just put a little tray in there with some sugar on for them. But that I thought was really neat.
Yeah, Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead just said, I like his feeders, but man, are they expensive.
They're definitely not cheap. That is true. They're not cheap. But they, for me, because this is going to last me my lifetime of use, and I really needed something that would work to keep the cluster from not breaking, but also to make sure that that they didn't have to go out anywhere, because that's going to keep fairly warm in that spot. So I thought it would work well. So we'll try it out and see.
Okay, we do have somebody on the phone here. Who's calling, please?
Hey, it's Rachel at that 1870s homestead.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey, I just wanted to tell you you're doing great.
Thank you so much. I'm terrified.
Oh, no. So I got a fun question for you.
Okay.
If you could have a dream homestead anywhere in the world, would it be where you are right now, or would it be somewhere else?
Wow, that's a good question. Okay,
Like
if
anywhere.
I'm totally honest,
Anywhere.
if I could take I know this isn't probably part of how I'm supposed to answer this, but if I could take my homestead and move it somewhere further south where I didn't have to contend with such harsh winters, I would, but I would never want to leave my actual house and land and all of that. But Winters and we're not the best of friends. So I would like to be somewhere warmer where there's more sun and I could grow longer.
Yeah, good answer.
Thanks. Thanks,
All
Rachel.
right, have fun. I'll let you go.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Rachel. Thank you for calling. So that's how it works, folks. Just call in and have your sound down on your YouTube, if you would, and we'll just put you right live on the air here. So
I'm just reading through the chat.
what's your biggest? Well, we have another call. Hold on.
The right line here.
This is Daryl. Who's calling, please?
Oh, you don't recognize my phone number.
Oh yeah, there you are, June. How are you?
All I have to do is hear her accent, and I know who it is.
I'm squeaking very well, thank you.
You have a doozy of a cold.
I don't have a cold. It's just I seem to have lost my voice.
Ah.
Anyhow, I was talking to Wholesome Roots last week or so because I was asking her about, because I have some kombucha that I bought in the store, some ginger ale kombucha, and I was asking her if I could use honey and add some more ginger to it and use that as a starter for my own. And she said when you use honey, it's called a Jun, not a Scooby. So I don't know if that helps at all.
Yes, that's
So
what
it's
I'm learning.
using
is
honey
apparently
instead of
it's
sugar.
Jun
So,
tea.
well, I guess
is what
when
it's
you use
called,
honey,
not
it's called a Jun.
Darn.
Yeah, Jun.
Okay.
That's right.
I wonder,
Yeah.
the kombuchas, aren't they like very vinegary? Aren't they like strong?
It depends how long you ferment them for.
Okay.
So you can really adjust them. But apparently this one, I guess, so this is Jun tea that I'm going to make. Same basic idea as doing kombucha, but apparently it's a much lighter flavor and not quite as vinegary as kombucha. That's what I understand,
Yeah.
but I've never done it before, so.
Well, and I know
Right.
that I know in the one video you showed us how not to open up one that you've done your second fermenting on.
Yeah. that was like a massive, it was completely not scripted that at all. I opened it up and it was just a total explosion everywhere.
Yeah, and it's not using a Scooby or a Scoby or a Ooby Dooby or whatever they call it. It's not using one of those. It's using something else as a starter, I guess is what she was saying. But it's also using honey instead of sugar.
This is what it actually looks like. This is actually, it's in, I can't take it out of the package, but it looks very similar to a SCOBY, like a kombucha SCOBY. Mm-hmm. It's just lighter in color.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, is that thing alive?
So we'll try it.
It's alive.
Is that alive that you're holding there in the
Yes.
bag?
Yeah. So it's a bacteria and yeast basically is what this is. Which sounds gross, but it makes a really yummy drink.
Oh yeah, I see it's wriggling. It's trying to get out of the bag.
Yeah, that's right.
Only June. Only
Sorry.
June.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to be good. Okay, then I'll get off and let somebody else call in.
Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, and I love your channel.
Thank you for calling, June.
Bye. Love you all.
Bye.
Love you too, June.
Okay, I have a couple other questions for you, non-homesteading related.
Sure.
I want to talk YouTube for a second.
Okay.
How did you get started in the YouTube creation of videos? What possessed you to do this?
Very naively, but I started, I think it was in May of last year, and I talked about it for about 6 months before I jumped in, and I had a couple of different motivations for doing it. I'm always interested in other streams of income for my farm. So there's lots of different things that I do. My husband works off the farm full time, but I am always looking for ways that I can do make money on my property. And so I'd started to explore YouTube initially for that reason. And then I also thought it would be a really interesting way, because we live isolated in a way, being an hour out of town and homeschooling and all of that, for us to sort of expand our social network and to be interacting with the world this way, which has been really cool. And, but I did not anticipate the amount of effort and work that was required. Anybody who makes videos, it takes a lot of time to make a video. But the cool thing that's come out of that for me is I've learned so much. I feel like my brain is like all the neural pathways are firing again, and because it's challenging too. So that's kind of how I got into it. It's just looking at it from entertainment and for monetarily and a bunch of different things like that.
Okay, and now I want to touch this a little bit more on the technical side, because you're a young channel. You have not been out here that long, and you've got a pretty good subscriber base for the amount of time that you've been here, and especially after taking a month off with your exodus from your property.
Yeah, I was watching every couple of days to see if there was a video, and there was a lot of us wondered what happened.
So, what if you would share with everybody what kind of camera you use, what you do for editing? Do you run a PC or an Apple computer, or do you just do this on a notepad? Or so tell us
Sure.
what your technical setup is.
Sure. My computer is, I'll show you. It's just an basic MSI PC laptop that I use, and it's not the best thing, but it works, and it was affordable, and that was most important. And then I use a Canon TSI or TSI for most of my filming, because I do a lot of sitting down stuff, or where I'm setting the camera up and I can keep it stationary. And then for vlogging, I just use my phone, which is what we're on right now. And I would like to upgrade that, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm using right now. And then for editing, I use Adobe Premiere for my editing.
Well, I think you've done a fabulous job.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I know that I know this because we're creator of videos. A lot of the videos you have, you're not just doing that in one shot. You're putting things together from sometimes days apart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it takes, those are the videos that I really enjoy doing, which is why I don't put out a ton of videos a week, is I like to plan them out, and I like them to be an experience for my viewers, because one of the things that I've sort of learned by doing it is that I'm not going to be somebody that's going to be able to vlog every day or put out a lot of videos, because I don't have the time to do that. So I'd rather put out really good entertainment and try to make them as beautiful. I love beauty and nostalgia. That's part of who I am. So I like to put that into my videos. And I have a lot of fun doing it. It's a huge creative outlet for me.
Well, I think you do a fabulous job. What are your
Thank you so much.
What do your kids think about mommy doing YouTube, and your husband thinking about his wife doing YouTube? And
Okay, we'll start with the kids. My kids think it's great. My kids think it's awesome. They, I think my older ones are actually proud of me, because one of the things that can happen when you're a mom, and when you're a mom of many, is that kind of becomes who you are. It becomes your identity. And I think for my teenagers to see me doing something that's kind of my own thing, and that's creative, and that people out there actually think mom is okay, I think is good for them, and something that they're proud of me, actually. My younger kids just love being in videos. If they can come and photobomb a video, they totally will. So they think it's a lot of fun. My husband is super supportive of me doing YouTube, but you might notice he's not in a lot of my videos. If he's in a video, bribery is involved. And he is just, he doesn't love being in front of the camera, but he's super supportive of me doing it.
Okay, with the bribery involved, I thought, well, we better stop right here. Don't know what the bribery is. So, and I'm sorry, the camera you used, you said was a Canon, but
yeah.
Is it
T6? I think it's a T6i.
T6i. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. How do you like that?
If I could afford to buy a better lens on it, because I just have the kit lens with it, and the autofocus is not great on it. But the camera itself is really good. So as soon as I can afford to upgrade my lens, I think I'll love it more than I do currently.
Did you buy that just for this YouTube experience, or?
Before I started doing YouTube, I was already looking for a camera because I enjoy photography and taking lots of pictures of my kids, and my old camera was broken. But I specifically, because I knew I was going to do YouTube, did a bunch of research to find out what I could get in my price range. And that seems to be the best one for what I could afford.
Okay, very good. So, and like I said, I think you're doing an absolutely outstanding job. Your video quality, the way you compose the videos and your thought process behind them is frankly a lot better than people that have been doing this for years in a lot of cases.
Wow, thank you.
Browncoat Homestead is asking, do you think you'll ever have goats?
I actually have had goats. That was my first farm animal that I ever got, was goats, and I got them for milk. And I loved the milk and making the cheese. I find making cheese with goat's milk way easier than cow's milk. But with the amount of milk that we drink, cow just was sort of a more practical step, and you can make butter and things like that with it. But I was just talking the other day about potentially getting maybe just 2 goats, and just so that I can have the cheese.
Kelly from Life of a Military Wife wanted to let you know that Kevin, her husband, has come around and he's now in her videos.
Oh, so there's hope. Everyone loves it when my husband, we call him Farmer Dan on the videos, but when he comes on, everybody just loves it. And so I've told him it'd be, so great if you could come on more often.
Root House Farm says her husband is hesitant to have their kids on videos. How did you make the decision to have your kids appear in your videos?
That's an awesome question. I am very selective about my kids. I did a vlog way back at the very beginning of my son's graduation, and I actually chose to take that down because I felt like that was just too personal for my kids. I can choose, I'm an adult, I can choose to put out here whatever I want, but they don't really have the ability to make that choice. Right. So for my teenagers, if they want to be on, it's 100% their choice. I don't put them on if they don't want to. One of my teenagers is like, and for my younger kids, I'm very selective about how I put them in the videos, and the videos generally are not about them. They are sort of like an addition. If I'm cooking something in the kitchen, my daughter Aurora loves to be in videos. I mean, she'd be in them all the time. Then she'll be there as kind of like it sounds terrible, but like an accessory to the video, but it's not focused on her. And I do that to help maintain their privacy. And then when they're old enough, they can choose that if they want. But that's an awesome question. I think that's a legitimate concern.
We do the same. We have 2 of our 2 youngest granddaughters. They are 8 and 12, and they come over regularly. And if we're cooking, or last year the 8-year-old and I canned peaches, and Daryl and Celia, the 12-year-old, they did tomatoes. So yeah, we are selective in what they do, and it's not just them. I'm doing something and they're helping, but they just think they're just hot stuff being on camera.
Yeah, I know.
Beyond Mountain Homestead wants to know when will they be able to get your hats and tees?
Pardon me?
Beyond Mountain Homestead is asking, when will we be able to get Little Mountain Ranch hats and t-shirts?
Maybe we'll look at that when we're closer to 10,000.
Well, a lot of them have been doing it now. Wanda, yeah. I don't know if you're still on. A lot of them have been doing it, and I forget the name of that site now. Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, Deep South Homestead. They do the designing, and you just go there and purchase it, and then it's sent to you. That's one way to do it. That way, your hands aren't involved in it in any way.
Yeah, I'd love to do it. It would be fun. I've been working on on doing like a logo and things like that with my mom and my mother-in-law who live in this house together. It's like a duplex, but they're both artists. And so we've been playing around with different ideas and things for doing that down the road.
Well, I don't know if are you familiar with Deep South Homestead? You watch
Oh,
the
yeah.
channel? Okay.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah, we will be down there in 19 days.
oh, you're counting the days
Oh,
now.
fun.
Yeah, Brenda said
I
something,
was
so I
just-
counted.
I was just gonna say to her here, if she wants to, take a break from the cold, she should come down to the spring gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I wish. I'd love to do that. When my little one is only 2. When she's a little bit older, then I'll be able to go off and do
Yes.
that kind of thing. Because I have fantasies about coming down and meeting all you guys
That would be great.
and going to the gatherings, but that's
Okay.
down the road for me.
I'd love to go up to Canada and visit. I would think that'd be awesome.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. We have lots of space.
Mapleberry Farm is asking, what was your first farm animal you ever had?
Chickens. When I was 22, when we bought our first house, I bought 25 chickens. It was pretty much the most exciting thing I think I'd ever done up until that point, besides having my son, of course. But chickens. And then my next sort of larger livestock was goats.
I noticed in one of your videos you've got a couple chicken tractors. Are those modeled after some things you've seen on YouTube, or is that something that you guys designed on your
just
own?
watching a whole bunch of different ones. I needed something that was light enough for me to move easily because I do most of the farm work, that kind of farm work, or my kids, like we work together that way. And so it's made out of PVC pipe is the arch of it. And then the wire on it is fairly light, so I can move it really easily. But yeah, I raise chickens and turkeys, and we move them around our hay fields and to fertilize them.
Wow. Good deal. So, any other questions come up here in the chat?
Not yet.
Well, I want to get our second video question, trivia question up here. So let me get that queued up, and you can sit back and take another little break here.
Well, before you do that, let me grab this. His and Hers Homestead, is there any farm or homestead animal that you will never have?
That I will never have. Goats is going to be a bit of a push to get them back on the farm again because my kids and my husband are not fans of goats. So I'm going to have to work that one a little bit, mostly because of just how they escape. And they're if they get out of a pen, they're pretty hard to wrangle back in and that kind of thing. So I'd say right now it's probably goats. Me personally, I can't think of any. My philosophy now with farming is if it has a purpose, then it's there. If it doesn't have a purpose, like I don't bring on animals like I used to onto the property just because I want them or they're cute or whatever. Everything has a job and a purpose on the property. So if it doesn't fit that criteria, then it doesn't come on.
Israel Rodriguez wants to know if you have raised llamas.
No, I haven't. I actually, when I first was looking into farming, I was looking at alpacas because I was interested in the fiber and because they're a gorgeous animal. But no, I haven't.
Okay, let me go ahead and queue up the trivia question here. Okay, quickly go over the rules again. You can only win once every 4 weeks. You must be the first person to answer the question correctly in the chat window as is received and recorded on the stream here at Two Family Homestead. And of course, you have to send us an email and tell us where to mail your $2 bill to. And Canada is fine. Any place is fine. We will send you a United States $2 bill. You'll have, if you can exchange that for a toonie, that's just fine. So, everybody's ready? Question number 2. What is our new puppy's name? There we go. Life goes north.
Woohoo, Mindy!
Hey, life goes north. First one in with the name Maple. Is that named after the maple syrup?
Yeah. Well, we did this. We did like a spoof on our channel with White House on the Hill, and maple syrup played a big theme in that. It was a Canadian kind of American stereotype spoof.
Yeah, we watched it yesterday. That was good.
Yeah. So that was partly why, and then also because cypress is a tree, so we wanted a tree name, so it worked out really well. Canadian flag, maple leaf, all of that. Good Canadian name.
Well, I will have to say, your channel has some excellent content. You've done a fabulous job with a lot of your collabs with other channels. Absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, and now we know that
Thank you so much.
She likes maple syrup in her coffee.
Yeah, maple syrup in her coffee.
Maple syrup any old way.
Any old way.
Was she putting it on the pig's food on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like I said, we watched it.
Yeah. that was the funnest video. That was one, like doing this live stream, that completely terrified me because I'm actually quite introverted, and I had to, be silly and goofy and all of that. But Jake pushed me to do that one, and I'm glad I did because it was a lot of fun.
That was a good one. Albany Mountain Homestead is asking, did you leave the fireplace whitewashed or finish with a polyurethane or something like that?
That is a good question, because no, I didn't put anything on it, but now I have to, because I sat down to load wood into the stove. This is just a couple of days ago, and my pants were a bit wet, and it actually rubbed off some of the finish on it. So I have to touch up that spot and then put some kind of finish over it so it doesn't rub off. I think because the paint is mixed with water, when you do a whitewash like that, it just makes it even more water soluble.
Yeah, you need to seal it with something.
Yeah, I should have done that, but no, I didn't.
So I saw in one of your videos you splitting wood, but is that a standard practice, or was that just for the video?
Good question. No, well, if you saw me split with an axe on the spoof video, that was for the video, but okay. I use a log splitter.
Okay.
So thanks a lot, Daryl. Yeah, no, I'm not that strong.
Well, she had a pretty good swing there. I can say that.
Yeah, it split. I was so impressed.
So how much wood do you go through? How many cords?
We were trying to calculate that the other day, but I'd say like 7 to 10, probably.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm looking actually at getting a wood cook stove. I've had a wood cook stove in my other house and I miss it, so I want to put one in, and that'll up our wood use a little bit. But
well, yeah, but that'll down your electric use.
Well, we don't use electric; we're solely wood. But we have we don't use electric heat, but we have a wood burning furnace that's in the house. That the fan is electric on it.
I meant for your cooking.
Oh, for cooking, yes. No, of course, yeah. It'll cut it down for that, for sure.
Yeah, instead of firing up the range, you just throw a little log in.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't wait. I really miss cooking on a wood stove.
You Can't Eat the Grass is asking, what chores do the kids do?
What chores do the kids do? So Liam, my 14-year-old, he feeds pigs in the morning and fills water troughs. Kate and I do milking. We do, my younger ones will do like Aurora waters the chickens and feeds the chickens. Matthew feeds the dogs and makes sure that they have water. And then some of my younger ones aren't, because in the summertime they do way more chores because we're weeding the garden and feeding meat birds and that kind of thing. But it's really cold out for my little ones to be outside, even for a 7 and 8-year-old to be outside when it's like minus 25. So their chores are in the house.
Okay. Somebody asked about how cypress like maple.
I'll have a video coming out on this where I took some footage, but he was terrified. We put her down, and I thought he was, because he's only 2, so he's like a big puppy himself. And he ran the other direction, and for probably about 3 days he wouldn't let her, and she just wanted to play, like the little puppy pounced and wanted to play with him, and he was having none of it. But now, I think we're just about 2 weeks in, or a little under 2 weeks in, they're best friends now.
Yeah. Yeah,
But it was so funny.
Yeah, like I said earlier, we had the same issue when Sassy and Sadie were 2, and we brought Smudge into the house. It was a riot.
Yeah.
They would jump up on, try to get on the back of the couch and straddle the back, so he couldn't get his tush up on the anyway. You know, he was just this fat ball of fluff. And they were petrified.
Exactly.
It's
That's
terrible.
exactly right.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing.
It is.
And I missed the name, but somebody asked about if you thought about putting in a rocket mass heater.
Roberta's Artistic Adventures. I'm staring at it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I watch Fouch Family Off Grid, and I love their rocket mass heater. I just think that because our house, when we bought it, it already had a wood stove, like a furnace inside, and it's already all there and done, that we'll probably just stick with that. That being said, we want to build a Wallapini, which is like an underground solar greenhouse, and we want to put a rocket mass heater in that.
Wow.
So it'll be something we're definitely looking at doing for sure. Down the road, but just not in the house.
Very nice.
And somebody asked something about firewood, pine firewood or something. Is that?
Yeah, mostly pine. Yeah, that's Brian. Beyond Mountains Homestead. We use mostly pine because that's what's around. Pine and fir is what grows on our property, so that's what we burn. And sometimes a little bit of poplar or aspen if it fell, or we have dead tree or whatever.
Okay, and that I'm gonna chime in here because people around us would have a real aversion to burning any type of pine. They simply want, because what they say is it forms too much creosote in the chimney and leads to chimney fires and this and that and so on and so forth. So my question then to you is, do you do any through the year maintenance or preventative maintenance to prevent things like chimney fires and stuff, especially being so far out from where you're at?
Absolutely. So we make sure our wood is cured. That's a big one. Make sure that your wood is dry, cured. I can't remember. We have a moisture meter for our wood, and I think it's like 18% or something. Somebody will have to chime in on that one because I'm not sure. But it's so you want to make sure your wood is super dry, and then we clean our chimney. Our actual main chimney never gets dirty, just because of the way the furnace is piped into the main chimney. It's the chimney that's from the furnace to the main chimney that needs cleaning. And I do that in the fall and then again in the spring. And then I just make sure that I burn my wood stove super, super, super hot, like once a week, because that helps to burn everything off.
Right, okay.
Somebody that Freaky never heard of a Wallapini wants to know what that is.
Sure. This is a project that if I could just dive right into it, I would do right now.
Okay, let me get this phone call.
Sure.
Hello, this is Daryl. Who's calling, please?
Hi, yeah, it's Stephen from Bronco Homestead.
Hey, Stephen, how are you?
Hi, Stephen.
Doing good. Hi.
Go ahead, Stephen.
I heard you mention something about underground, but it came as such a blur in the conversation. My wireless isn't too good.
Is this about the Wallapini?
That might something about underground for greenhouses. That's all I caught.
Okay, yeah. So what a Wallapini is it's a passive solar greenhouse. So you build it into a south-facing bank. And so the whole entire backside and both sides are underground. And then the front of it that's facing south is glass. And the purpose of that in our area is to extend the season. And you can actually, I have a friend who lives about a half an hour north of us, and she is growing kale right now. So she's been growing all winter long in it. And usually you use a rocket mass heater in it or some type of other heat to keep it warm in the wintertime or warmer. But it's a way for people in the north to be able to get greens in the winter. That's the whole idea. behind it.
Okay, and what did you say it was called again? I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
It's a Wallapini.
Wallatini. Okay, thank you. I had
You're
never
welcome.
heard of that, so I was intrigued, and I wanted to get some more information, so I thought I'd call in, and I'm loving and learning a lot from, and looking forward to hearing more of your stories on your channel.
Awesome. Thank you so much for calling in.
My pleasure. And as always, to family, you have a unique and unusual and lovable program. Always a pleasure to listen and watch.
Thank you. Glad to see you here tonight. It's been a while.
Yep. Thanks for calling, Stephen.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I've been in Florida for 2 weeks, so.
Oh, cool. I'll take that.
All right. Thank you for calling, Stephen. Appreciate it. Was there anything else?
No, that was it. Thanks, and you have a great night, and I hope to be able to get down to Mississippi as well.
Oh, cool. That would be awesome.
Well, yeah, I would like to meet you. Okay. Thanks so much
All
for
right.
calling. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Catch you later.
Freaky Geek wants to know if you're going to do a video on the build.
Oh yeah, for sure. If that happens this year, which is my goal to have that happen, but we have a bunch of big projects, and sometimes I get a little unrealistic with what I think that we can actually do. But we are hoping to at least get the hole in the ground and the support walls on the back.
And I
This
just
year.
want to make everybody aware. You know, we've been on for a little over an hour. We just want people to be aware of the time. If you have other things or kids to put to bed or anything like that. And Chelsea, I don't know if you can stay with us much longer or not, but
I just a couple more minutes, because I can't believe how quiet they've been, but all of my kids are next door at my mom's with my mother-in-law, and they're having like a movie night with the grandmas over there, and they're being very quiet. So I probably shouldn't push my luck too far.
okay, by all means. So we'll another 3 to 5 minutes or so. So folks, if you've got any questions, ask them now or forever hold your peace. You know how that goes.
It's Daryl's bedtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to thank everybody for being here. And this is, like I said, I'm quite introverted, so this was a big stretch for me, but you guys all made it super easy. And Daryl and Cher, really, this has been lovely. So thank you.
We're glad that everything finally calmed down and you were able to make it.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. Thank you very much.
Folks, this has been in the planning stage for a long time.
It has been.
Yeah, it was put on the shelf because of the fires.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So we finally got her. Maybe we'll
Yay.
get to have her back again in a few months. I think you've done great.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, I'm just reading comments as you're going. Roothouse Farm, I can't wait till you get more videos up. Your stuff's going to be awesome. Oh, Mapleberry Farm, 1870s Homestead. I love you guys. If you guys have not gone over to see 1870s Homestead's channel, I adore them.
Oh yeah, I enjoy the videos. I think that we are subscribed to the majority of everybody in here, and if not, I have all these. You can't see my computer, but I have all these tabs all the way across my screen. Because if somebody makes a comment that I don't know, I'm going over there and getting the dots and opening up a new tab so I can go subscribe.
Well, Chelsea,
I just want to say a big thank you to Beyond Mountain Homesteads, Brian. He was actually one of my very first subscribers, and he has just been wonderful. Love you, Brian. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to say if there's anything you want to say to everybody, now's your time.
Just thank you. This has just been such a crazy and humbling and fun experience, and getting to know everybody. What I kind of hoped for when I started my channel was to just develop relationships with people. And at first it's kind of awkward because everybody doesn't know each other and all of that. But then you really start developing genuinely sincere relationships with people, and people really start caring about you, and you start caring about them, and it's a pretty beautiful thing to be a part of. So
yeah,
I'm grateful for everyone.
Strange.
Yeah.
I do want to mention that if you feel that you may want to be a guest on our Monday night live stream, send us an email. It's open to, you don't just have to be a homesteader. We've had chefs on here.
Preppers.
Preppers. And any way you want to go, we'd love to have you. Just send us an email, and we can get that all set up.
Okay. Oh, and I guess we might as well say something here on March the 12th, which is a Monday night.
That's right.
We will not be doing our live show on March the 12th.
Yeah, we'll be driving home.
We'll be in Mississippi on the 11th. What we plan to do, if the internet cooperates, we are going to do a special Sunday edition from the spring gathering, and we'll probably be able to quickly speak to 20, 25, 30 channels. So that should be a real fun show.
Right now, there's 47 channels going.
I think there's 47 channels going to be represented.
That doesn't include all the people that are on Facebook, plus their friends and family.
Well, are there subscribers? That's the channels, that's the creators. So, okay, folks, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Chelsea, we really appreciated you doing this, and I certainly hope you had a good time. So.
I did. Thank you. You made it easy. You guys made it easy. Good. If anyone's considering doing it. These do it. These guys are great.
Good.
Well, thank you. Okay, folks, have a wonderful week. Have the editing class tomorrow night.
Yeah, and next Monday is my blind mama's cooking show. Jerry from Arizona. So that'll be our guest next Monday night.
Okay. Good night, folks.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Have a good one.